With Bitcoin having recently made its biggest correction of the cycle so far, many are split on what to do. Is it over? Do I buy? Should I sell and buy back lower? The way I see it is no one knows what's to come in the next 2, 4, 6, 8 months, but all you can really do is form a thesis and stick to it until it's invalidated. In my humble opinion, I think we've still a strong upward leg to go in crypto, the final faded bullish wave to end off what should be the most aggressive climb upward this cycle. It may be hard to still cling on to this notion, but you have to think how much you've endured already. Instead of complaining about this painful 130-day chop and drawdown, appreciate this experience you've added to your trading and investing pedigree. Zoom out, the weekly is still in a bullish posturing. A visit down to the 40s and we're still macro bullish. I don't think the bull market is tangibly in question, which is why the consideration of buying crypto should be taken seriously, as we're now finally entering deep value zones. The main debate for now remains when we turn up from this drawdown, where on one end there's the possibility of an aggressive reversal upward into price discovery, and the other is an elongated accumulation before a move upward. These two scenarios and everything in between is totally plausible, and although the question of when to buy crypto may be affected by what pans out, where in that first you'd ideally want to go all in soon, and with the latter a slow DCA would suffice. The idea of buying crypto is still the answer in both situations, which is why in this video we'll be discussing what crypto I'm buying, as in the first time in a long time I too am doing such. Make sure you're subscribed because if you're not, someone else will be, and do you really want to let them have that edge over you? And don't forget to sign up for the Fairdesk crypto exchange with the link in description below. It's a non-KYC exchange which you won't even need to use a VPN for, so no worries about being from those countries that are usually restricted like the US, Canada, and such. Plus their futures trading fees are the cheapest in the space, and with that specific link you get even further fee discounts and up to 100k in deposit bonuses. Let's start off with Beam, which is probably the crypto I was most excited to pick up on this dip. Reason being, I think it's the most undervalued category leader right now. Gaming went pretty crazy from that October to March time period, and yes, even though everything is down since then, gaming to me is the one category that's probably been the most forgotten of them all. It's gotten to a point where people aren't even bullish or bearish on gaming. Instead, most have become genuinely indifferent to it, almost like they're desensitized. Crypto gaming right now sits at a measly $18 billion market cap. And when we look at the top gaming projects here, in terms of solid gaming infrastructure, it's IMEX. And then after that it's really Beam, which is sub 800 million. It peaked at 2 billion. And endgame, I just don't see how this thing doesn't at least get to 5 to 10 billion. Unless of course gaming as a category fails completely for whatever reason. Furthermore, there's no worry of tokenomics. On top of that, don't forget the token burns. A 70% drop to almost launch levels. There is the big risk this thing never recovers. But in my opinion, if you're someone who isn't all in on crypto gaming but still recognize the importance of having exposure and want to do so, then fleshing out a gaming portfolio mostly made up of Beam and then placing bets on individual games I think is a fantastic idea. I've personally placed bets on Mavia Prime Pixel and some others, with the biggest one of them all being Karrat actually, another crypto I recently bought up aggressively. Honestly, with gaming it doesn't have to get too much more complicated than this right here. Next up we have Celestia. Solana launches 4 years ago, an initial pump of 800% followed by an 80% correction. Celestia launches this cycle, 800% gain followed by an 80% correction. Am I saying Celestia continues to follow what Sol did and also go on a 20,000% run which would put TIA at $800? No, obviously not. But what I am saying is to write Celestia off completely would be unwise. Heading into this cycle, it's always been one of the most anticipated projects, had incredible success after going live, but has now had a mean reversion back to reality. It's great because bidding Celestia here is quite the easy trade. Invalidation is clear, but upside could technically be quite absurd. I'm not a fan of bidding multiple L1s, and nor do I think the L1 success of last cycle can be repeated. But I do think having exposure to a new L1 is an integral part of every bull market. For me, Celestia is one of the few I'm going with this time around because fundamentally it is amazing. That said, remember Celestia begins its aggressive token unlock schedule in November, and how FDV is 5 times the market cap. So not a risk-free trade by any means, but one I'm still personally taking. Arweave is another L1 I've gone into hard, as it also has the storage and AI thing possibly going for it. A $100 to $200 Arweave should conservatively be ascertained at its market peak. What I like most about Arweave is its circulating supply already being fully issued, and the market cap sitting at $1.5 billion. There's nothing stopping Arweave from getting to significantly higher valuations. It's just a matter of people catching on. I know you may be thinking, obviously pain, of course it needs that, but really understand what it is I'm trying to say here. All the ingredients are in the pot, but will retail decide to stir it all together? This isn't the case for a lot of projects. Take algorand for example. Retail bidding the two, or in terms of our example stirring the pot for the two, would not elicit the same results. Algorand is still miles away from price discovery. It has no narrative this cycle, and many are underwater. Stir the pot at the same rate for the two, and the impact it'll have in Arweave would be significantly greater due to the prospect of network effects. I bought Arweave at the lows between $5 and $7, but am now expanding my exposure in hopes of things getting freaky to the upside. Of course, if they don't, I still think it'll do decent. Like I said, triple digits should be well underway at the minimum. And then we got bittensor Tau. Many of you have been asking for my opinions on Tau, and rightfully so, but my silence should speak a message as well. Down over 70% from highs since that peak in early March. It's not been easy holding these past 4 months. I'm sure it's been tormenting for a lot of you. And that hack recently may have just been the cherry on top. A lot of people I know inside the space who got into Tau at the 50s and 100s have also told me they've capitulated. Evidently from my tone, however, I have not. Although price has gone down quite a bit, in that same time period the bittensor network has made vast improvements. The increase in the amount of subnets, the efforts being put into dynamic Tau, how the recycling of Tau has changed. Ultimately, I will make it more than known if I've sold my Tau positions or given up on it because of X, Y, and Z. I'm ready to dump this thing right now if need be, but that's not quite the case. I saw this post on X by Crypto El Presidente, who compared ETH price action in its early days to Tau. He states he thinks Tau is the ETH of this cycle, and although I'll agree with him in how these price comparisons and fractals are often nonsense, I'll also agree with how the similarity between the two is almost kind of scary and hard to believe. It is funny though, because if this comparison continues holding true, we'd expect for this recent bottom to have been the last one for Tau before a huge macro impulse upward, which is what ETH did. Don't bank on it, but still fun to exercise nonetheless. TLDR not worried about Tau, and actually decided to add a bit more exposure with our dip below 200. Some other altcoins I also bought recently are Ethena and WorldCoin. These two are more long-term investments that carry an insane amount of risk, but at the expense of a lot of upside. In fact, it's because WorldCoin is a horribly centralized crypto that I like adding it on dips, because that certainly doesn't mean it can't do well. aioz is another one, a lot like Arweave, has multiple narratives with AI storage and an L1, quite the low market cap and most promising how all the tokens are in circulation. I don't think this will be a category leader, but depending on how crazy deep in an AI can get, it serves as a great mid-cap investment. Layer 0 I've gone into a bit just for a taste, and a tiny bit of exposure into Jupiter and Pyth because I think it's getting to some decent areas. All in all, a lot of altcoins are in very good buy areas in my opinion. All these crypto I named I bought into not because I think these are better than the others. Just I envisioned something with them in the bigger picture, or I needed to increase my exposure to them. But if you're someone who's underexposed to meme coins or L2s, by all means go ahead. For instance, I own enough WIF, but if I didn't, would 100% be buying some. But that's where I'm at. Make sure to go follow me on Twitter to get this info early. I'll leave a link in description. And for further updates and educational videos, also be liked and subscribed. Until next time, take care.